What concept was a 6th-tier armament master? Even in Sky Emperor City, that would be a reputable VIP, what more in South Sky region? President Hu himself was only in 6th tier. If a 14-year-old could reach 3rd tier, then what would her future be? This was simply unimaginable. Frankly speaking, if this was said by another person, Murongda would not believe it at all because a 14-year-old 3rd-tier armament master was simply too ridiculous. No one would ever believe such a matter without any evidence. But since President Hu was the one who said that, based on his title as a respectable armament Grand Master to say such a thing, there was no choice except to believe in his words. President Hu looked at Murongda's expression as though he had been struck by lightning but still hadn't vented his anger enough as he continued, furthermore, this Miss Bai's background isn't ordinary as well. Her master is an armament Grand Master from Sky Emperor City, at least 8th tier and above. Based on her innate talent and with the coaching of a reputable master, her future. I think you don't need me to say more about this, right? Murongda was completely stunned by now. An 8th-tier armament master in Sky Emperor City, those were reputable people with great value. Even for a sect like Celestial Light Sect, even if they gave all their fortunes, they might even be scorned. This young lass's luck was actually that good, to be under the wing of an 8th-tier armament master. But it's no wonder because based on her innate talent, which armament master wouldn't be moved? They would absolutely fight to let her become their disciple. President Hoot saw his dumbstruck look and finally understood that Murongda totally wasn't aware of the truth. He gave a cold harumph and said, "So now are you clear? Young sect Master Li's cultivational innate talent may be hard to find, but Miss Bai's armament refining innate talent is something which is hard to come by in 100 years. In what way are they not compatible? Don't take it for granted. This kind of armament refining talent can't be found anywhere else, and now for her fiancé, she came over to your Celestial Light sect. Instead of treasuring this luck, you actually wanted to let her sit in the last seat. Why? Do you think that we armament masters are an easy lot to bully? Miss Bai is too sentimental, that's why she didn't leave immediately. Just wait until she cannot tolerate it any further by these petty people's actions. I'd like to see where you run off to cry." Murongda originally was already very remorseful, but after being scolded by President Hu, his sweat started dripping down. He immediately turned towards Huang Yueli and spoke politely, "Miss Bai, so you're a certified armament master, why didn't you tell us earlier? Moying didn't tell us clearly on this. Quick, please have a seat." Huang Yueli didn't give a reply as her gaze fell onto Murong Fei. At this present moment, Murong Fei's expression was not just describable with the word pale. She stared at Huang Yueli in disbelief as though she had just seen a ghost. In the past she heard that Huang Yueli knew how to refine armaments or something as such, but she didn't let it stay inside her heart. There were a few armament refining talents in Celestial Light Sect, and there were occasions where 14 or 15-year-olds were barely able to pass the first-year Armament Master Certification assessment. Murong Fei was an 8th-grade talented practitioner, so this was much rarer than ordinary armament refining talents. But after hearing what President Hu said today, Murong Fei realized that she had belittled Huang Yueli. She actually reached the standard of a 3rd-tier armament master. Just what kind of an abnormal genius was she? Just that little slut. How was this possible? Seeing Huang Yueli's gaze fall onto herself, Murong Fei couldn't help but shudder. You can also listen on. For Huang Yueli to look at her, there was no need to think to know that she was definitely up to no good. Indeed, before Huang Yueli opened her mouth, Murongda had already noticed her line of vision as he immediately responded, snatching the opportunity to speak. "Fei, today you've been too rash and offended Miss Bai. Apologize to Miss Bai." Murong Fei felt extremely humiliated when she heard this. The person she looked down on the most was Bai Ruoli, who was standing in front of her. Now she was made to apologize to this little slut who had snatched away Li Moying from her. How was this possible? Murong Fei was suppressing herself as she didn't say a word. Murong frowned as he was feeling frustrated. He felt that this daughter of his was really making one more and more irritated. She had been causing trouble day in and day out, and now that she'd done something wrong, she actually refused to apologize. This temper. She had really been pampered thoroughly. When Cui Yuan Shan saw this, he laughed out loudly. Junior brother Murong, don't make things difficult for your daughter anymore. She's thinking of the sect too, otherwise why would she keep her eyes on Miss Bai for? After all, she's the sect master's daughter, so if you want to make her apologize to Miss Bai, it is not giving her any face, right? Cui Yuan Shan spoke a chain of biting sarcasm, making President Hu's face turn ugly once again. He angrily gave Murong Fei a stare and said, "All right, I finally understand Celestial Light sect. So armament masters in your sect are being treated in this way. Since you despise armament masters, feeling that apologizing to armament masters is an embarrassing thing, then why do you even look for me to be a witness? I cannot take up this responsibility." Saying that, he flicked his sleeves and was about to walk off. This time round, Murongda was really anxious. He hurriedly ran down from the main seat and blocked President Hu's way as he gave an apologetic smile. "President Hu, please don't. Today's matter is a huge matter, so we cannot do without you. What you said is correct, my daughter is in the wrong and she should apologize, we cannot just forget about this." Saying that, Murongda looked at Murong Fei once again as he opened his mouth. His tone had turned harsher than before. "Fair, where are your manners? Today you've indeed gone too far, why aren't you apologizing to Miss Bai?" Murong Fei's eyes widened as she didn't expect her father, who had pampered her so much, actually forced her to do such an embarrassing thing in front of so many people. Now in the main hall, everyone's eyes were on her and Huang Yueli. If she were to submit to Huang Yueli right now, in future where would she have the face to snatch her man from Huang Yueli? But since things already came to this step, there was no possibility for her to not lower her head. Murong Fei suppressed herself for a long period of time and she finally clenched her teeth tightly as she hissed the few words out forcefully. Sorry. Huang Yueli blinked. "What did you say?" "I didn't hear it clearly." Murong Fei had finally coerced herself to say a word of apology, but in the end Huang Yueli still said that about her, making Murong Fei almost fainting from anger. Actually, although Huang Yueli intentionally made things difficult for her, but her voice was really soft like a mosquito buzzing, so a lot of people didn't even notice that she had said anything earlier. President Hu also frowned in dissatisfaction. "That's right, your apology is so soft, I'm guessing you are not sincere at all, right? Are you just trying to hoodwink me?" Under the tremendous pressure, Murong Fei had no choice but to raise the volume of her voice. "Miss Bai, I've offended you today and I'm extremely sorry for it. You can also listen on." This time, although Murong Fei's voice had turned louder, but her tone sounded so fierce that one couldn't tell if she was remorseful or not. President Hu frowned again and was about to spit out fire. What kind of an attitude is that? However, Huang Yueli hurriedly stopped him as she said, "President Hu, don't be angry. Miss Murong has apologized and I'm already very satisfied with that. After all, she's Moying's junior sister, so it's understandable that she has this attitude. I must consider on the behalf of Celestial Light sect as well." Upon hearing this, President Hu gave her a sulky stare. You're just like that, simply too kind, which is why you're bullied by others. A genius armament master actually got chased down from the upper seat. What is this? Don't just think for young sect masterly. He's a genius all right, but you're not far off from him, so if he really bullies you, don't you just swallow it down. Huang Yueli hurriedly said, "President Hu, please don't misunderstand, Moying is very good to me. I just don't want to smear the reputation of his sect." President Hu waved his hand. All right, I know you two have a good relationship, so hurry on and go back to your fiancé. I really can't continue watching. Huang Yueli couldn't help but laugh as she felt that this old man was really meaningful. Armament masters were mostly aloof by nature, but they were generally more pure, and towards people who entered their eyes, they would treat the other party very well. Murong Fei was just by the side listening to them talk as he felt extremely touched. Regarding today's matter, Huang Yueli was the one who suffered the most grievance instead of bearing a grudge. That young lass was even considering on the sect's behalf to compromise and let everyone have a peace of mind. This was extremely hard to come by. In comparison, Murong Fei had not considered his obstructions several times and had to go against Huang Yueli. Not only had she thrown their face all the way to the West Sky region, furthermore her last apology was so insincere. Murong stared at her as he felt resentful towards her for failing to meet his expectations. Look at yourself, why can't you learn from others? No wonder your eldest senior brother only likes her. This kind of tolerance is just not the same. When Murong Fei heard that, she almost fainted. What kind of virtue that wretched lass had, no one was more clearer than her. She was absolutely black-bellied and sinister, filled with a stomach full of bad water. But unfortunately her father actually cited that wretched lass and still asked her to learn from Huang Yueli. He even said she had low tolerance. Why couldn't her father tell that wretched lass absolutely said that on purpose? It was done to disgust herself. Intentionally. Huang Yueli returned back to Li Moying's side, and before she had even sat stably, Li Moying raised his brow at her as he asked in a low voice. Huang Yueli proudly and pamperedly humphed at him, "Aren't I doing all these for you? If I really put your master on the spot, your celestial light sect will probably lose all the face to continue in this line." Li Moying leaned in close to her ear as he laughed lowly, "As compared to you, nothing is more important than you, so celestial light sect is not even worth mentioning at all." "Your words really sound so nice." Huang Yueli pouted. Li Moying knew that she was still feeling upset inside. Furthermore, originally if she had openly beaten Murong Fei up, this anger might have been appeased. But after President Hu stuck his nose into it, although he had won back her face in a strong manner, but that anger was suffocated back. No wonder she wasn't feeling good at all. Li Moying naturally knew what she was thinking about and pinched her cheek laughingly. "So pampered and arrogant, it's all because your fiancé didn't vent your anger for you. Just wait and see." Huang Yueli went into a blank as she didn't know what he was up to and turned back to take a look at him. "You can also listen on." Li Moying pacified her by touching her shoulders and turning back his head at the same time as he said coldly, "Second junior brother, where do you think you're going?" Li Lingchuan realized that the situation wasn't quite right and had already been retreating backwards secretly, hoping that his movements would not be found out. Whoever knew that Li Moying suddenly called out for him. He secretly raised his head and met Li Moying's biting cold gaze sweeping by as his spine felt a chill, so he could only stop his footsteps. Li Lingchuan self-professed that he was one of the peerless talents in South Sky region, and while facing other practitioners, he never felt that he ran out of spirit, but unfortunately the moment he met Li Moying, just one glance was enough to make him terrified, feeling that he had to bow down in front of his feet. Eldest senior brother. His stammering words had yet to finish when he felt his eyes turning blurry. A severe lightning flashed across and struck him on his chest. Li Lingchuan didn't even have the time or space to react or evade when he was struck directly. He saw a miserable shriek as he crashed heavily towards the outside. "Lingchuan." Murong stood up in shock. Quickly go see what has happened to Li Lingchuan." The medical professionals present immediately rushed over. This time as the mishap happened too quickly, so quick that it made everyone surprised and everyone in the main hall were shocked. No one expected Li Moying to suddenly make a move. Just within a short span of an instant, Li Lingchuan was heavily injured. After some time, some people finally regained their senses as all of them were dumbstruck. What's the matter with young sect master? Why did he directly strike out at Mr. Li? Isn't that obvious? Earlier Mr. Li together with eldest young Miss were bullying Miss Bai, intending to ask her to sit at the last seat. Although young sect master has given the sect some face to let off eldest young Miss, but Master Li doesn't have that good fortune, eh? He really stood up for Miss Bai. Heavens! Young sect master's character is so cold, but he actually got fired up for a woman. Why isn't the lucky one me? What curse did Bai Rolly cast it on him? You? Haven't you even seen your own distance between yourself and Miss Bai? She is a top-rated armament refining genius, even President Hu is full of praise for her. Are you even comparable? Not only were the ordinary disciples discussing this, even President Hu and the rest were extremely shocked and surprised. President Hu was only astonished for a moment when he laughed out, "Youngsters. They are just too rash. But at least he has a bit of hot blood in him. Otherwise I cannot rest assured that our talented genius young lady of the Armament Guild will marry him." From the looks of this now, young sect master Li indeed knows how to protect our Miss Bai. Li Moying indifferent replied, "Naturally." Towards outsiders, he didn't like to talk much but merely using a few words to describe his feelings of adoration towards Huang Yueli, it was enough to make anyone understood his meaning. The words of beration were almost by Murongda's mouth, but upon thinking, he decided to swallow it down. Internal strife was a major offense in these kinds of large sects, and if it were others who fought in such an occasion, Murongda would never let them off. But since it was Li Moying, he couldn't even say a single word of criticism. Because he himself could not afford to offend Li Moying, moreover Li Lingchuan was at fault in the first place. Adding on to the fact that Li Moying had already let Murong Fei off, his pursuit towards Li Lingchuan was considered a huge step back. You can also listen on. Murongda restrained himself for some time, not saying a word. At this moment, the doctor who gave Li Lingchuan a checkup came over to report, "Sect Master, Master Li's injuries are rather grave. His internal organs were almost shattered, and if he doesn't lie down for a couple of months, he wouldn't be able to recuperate. Luckily his meridians hadn't suffered too much damage, so in future he will still be able to continue cultivating." Hearing that, Murongda knew that Li Moying really had shown leniency, so what more could he say? Murongda sighed as he waved his hand, "I know already, bring Master Li down for urgent treatment." Saying that he returned to his own seat. From the start till the end, he didn't say a word about Li Moying. Huang Yueli sat beside Li Moying as her eyes were wide open, a little surprised over what had happened. She had not expected Li Moying to be so merciless. Suddenly injuring someone without even giving a warning at all. In this way, Murongda's reputation had totally fallen onto the ground, so Huang Yueli thought that he would at least berate Li Moying a little. But towards the end, Murongda didn't even say a single word and directly went back to his seat. It was obvious that he was afraid of Li Moying. Li Moying sensed that Huang Yueli kept staring at him as he turned his head slightly. "What's the matter, Lear? Why are you looking at me and not eating anything? Are the dishes not to your liking?" Huang Yueli smiled at him. "I realized that you seem to be very overbearing in the sect. You just beat up your junior brother until he has such a serious injury. Haven't you noticed that your master is extremely angry?" Li Moying gave a cold harumph. "I didn't go beat up Murong Fei is the utmost face which I'm giving him. Moreover the guy surnamed Li created trouble for me in the Dark Moon Forest previously and I haven't settled the debt with him yet. And now he still came out to create trouble. Does he think that I, Li Moying, am dead?" Saying that, he looked at Huang Yueli. "Lear, do you feel that I'm too overbearing?" Huang Yueli smiled sweetly. "Of course not. Why would I? I feel that you're extremely suave until I can die." Li Moying then satisfactorily smiled as the sides of his lips curled upwards. To him, there was nothing which made him happier than to hear Huang Yueli praised him. His leer's expression was just too cute, and if it wasn't for the fact that this was a public area and he was afraid that Huang Yueli would become angry from embarrassment, he wanted to lower his head and give her a kiss. Suddenly at this moment, Cui Yuan Shan suddenly opened his mouth. Junior brother Murong, aren't the rules in Celestial Light sect very strict? How come your disciples can even beat each other up openly in public? This is a real eye-opener for me. Murong's expression stiffened. How would he not be able to tell that Cui Yuan Shan didn't harbor any good intentions? Everyone present could tell that he didn't berate Li Moying because he didn't want to offend this talented disciple. But Cui Yuan Shan had to bring out this sentence, ridiculing and hinting that he had a double standard. If he didn't pursue the matter in which Li Moying beat up his fellow junior brothers, it was obvious that Celestial Light sect didn't have the dignity of a large sect. But if he pursued him, he didn't dare to take up the risk of offending Li Moying. Cui Yuan Shan was obviously trying to sow a discord between them. Just as Murongda was extremely interlocked, Li Moying suddenly gave a chilly laugh and calmly opened his mouth. Sect Master Cui, this seems to be our Celestial Light sect's matters, so since when had Green Cloud sect able to dabble into our sect affairs? We have yet to discuss the two sects' cooperation method and you're already dabbling in our sect's internal affairs. If we really cooperated, then are you going to override my master? Hearing that, Cui Yuan Shan's expression changed immediately. You can also listen on. Cui Yuan Shan didn't expect Li Moying to rebuke him, and moreover in such an arrogant and overbearing manner. He was a 9th stage realm top expert who had been established for quite some time, and his potential is much higher than everyone else present. Even Murongda didn't dare to speak to him in such a manner. But Li Moying seemed as though he didn't feel any pressure, as he immodestly taunted him. Cui Yuan Shan patted the table and angrily retorted, "You, how dare you speak to me in this manner?" The minute his rage flared up, his powerful aura immediately enveloped the entire main hall, and Li Moying suffered the most pressure, but he seemed as though there was nothing to it, as there weren't any changes to his expression. Sect Master Cui, putting up such a powerful might, what is your intention? Do you feel that our Celestial Light sect is good to bully? Thinking of using might to suppress our sect? This is how Green Cloud sect displays your sincerity. If this is the case, then I feel that the decision to cooperate with Green Cloud sect is really a huge mistake. Li Moying's lips curled up as he gave a slight smile of ridicule. Cui Yuan Shan was just about to explode when he heard these words and suddenly regained his senses. His eyes were fixed on those Celestial Light sect's 9th stage realm elders as they all started to stand up, looking at him with anger in their eyes. Evidently, they were all fired up from his earlier action. Cui Yuan Shan immediately broke out in cold sweat. Yes, although Li Moying himself was only in 7th stage realm, but Celestial Light sect wasn't a small sect who were vegans. As an established and accomplished sect which had been around for 1,000 years, even if Sect Master Murongda's actual ability wasn't comparable to his, but there were still Grand Elders within the sect who had the ability and were powerful enough to defeat Cui Yuan Shan. More importantly, as what Li Moying said earlier, he was here to cooperate with the sect. Although he has a chance to squeeze Celestial Light sect, he would not give up on it. But if this really resulted in the failure of the cooperation, thus unable to activate the ancient mystic region, then the loss would outweigh the gains. Cui Yuan Shan tried his best to suppress his own rage as he gave a cold snort. Of course I brought along my sincerity, there's nothing to doubt about this. A junior like you is so disrespectful to me, but on accord of your master, I will not haggle with you over this. He angrily returned to his own seat and lifted up the teacup as he drank loads of water to extinguish his fury. Those ordinary disciples present had never seen a 9th stage realm practitioner displaying their might and were all breaking out in cold sweat. Especially when Cui Yuan Shan released his might, many of them were so scared that they wet their pants. They all thought that Cui Yuan Shan would throw a huge temper. Young sect master was just too condescending, so after he kicked the iron plate, something big might just explode. Everyone was all sweating on Li Moying's behalf. But none of them had thought that Cui Yuan Shan actually didn't get worked up. Instead, he suppressed his own anger while nursing his grievance. Li Moying's simple words pushed a powerful 9th stage realm practitioner back, and even made him unable to get worked up. This was a simply unimaginable thing, so everyone's admiration towards Li Moying had raised to a brand new platform. Originally, their young sect master not only had innate talent and potential, even his talent in speaking was so good. Furthermore, in front of Cui Yuan Shan's powerful aura, he totally had no fear. Instead, he seemed to be watching a joke. How could he be so self-confident? The others couldn't see through this, but Huang Yueli understood it very well. She couldn't help smiling while she shook her head, thinking that this man was exactly the same as in his past life. From a very long time ago, there were numerous super strong practitioners who were angered by him till they almost threw up blood. You can also listen on. If this man's mouth started to seep with poison, even she could do nothing about it. But following his potential in his past life as Mu Qingying, as it grew stronger and stronger, by the time he had no opponents, there were very little people who had the chance to make him display his poisonous tongue skill. A large portion of people were already scared out of their souls from just one chilly glance, so did they even need him to say anything else more? It was because Huang Yueli met him in his younger days when his potential still wasn't very high that she had the chance to witness this. Now, things were replaying again, and that made Huang Yueli reminisce about old feelings. After Cui Yuan Shan was stuffed by Li Moying, he felt that he had lost face and kept drinking wine and not saying a single word more, making the atmosphere turn a little embarrassing. However, Murongda was feeling glad in his heart as he intentionally persuaded him to drink less, which made Cui Yuan Shan even more infuriated that his mustache was whistling and his eyes widened. Luckily, President Hu was seated in the middle mediating, so the atmosphere had not turned overly anxious. Huang Yueli saw this and was feeling puzzled, so she secretly tugged Li Moying's sleeve as she asked, "Moying, why do I feel that your master and sect master Cui don't seem quite right? Did they have any enmity before this?" Most large sects, although they do mutually compare themselves unrealistically, but the outcome was very different from Murongda and Cui Yuan Shan. As though they grabbed every single chance, without a care, as they insisted on comparing every single thing. Li Moying swept them a glance and lowered his volume. "I heard that Master and Sect Master Cui had a good relationship in the past, and they even roamed about South Sky region to experience training. But too bad in the end they both fell in love with my master's wife. The result was my master's wife married my master, so Sect Master Cui then started to hate my master." Huang Yueli was suddenly enlightened. No wonder. In this way, Sect Master Cui really seems pitiful. "I feel that he's more handsome than your master and his potential is also much stronger, right? I haven't seemed to have met your master's wife. She should be a real beauty." Although Murongda was slightly cowardly, and to tell the truth he wasn't considered a handsome male, but Murong Fei and Murong Nai were genuine beauties, so it only meant that their mothers were extremely ravishing. Li Moying nodded and said, "My master's wife passed on very early. She was down with a disease and died. Because of that, she left behind 2 daughters who hadn't been taught properly, resulting in their unruly and headstrong behavior. In this case, they really seem very pitiful, but I'm not going to sympathize with them." Huang Yueli's lips tugged as she replied in a proud and pampered manner. After understanding the cause and effect, then on seeing the 2 sect masters arguing, she felt that it was very interesting as she propped up her chin while watching delightfully. She hadn't noticed that Li Moying's gaze had always been on her, while seeming in deep thought. Murongda and Cui Yuan Shan in this manner were similar to Liu Baiyan and himself. liking the same woman, and there was bound to be a loser one day. The two of them hadn't turned into enemies, all because Liu Bian voluntarily gave in, alas. In this lifetime, they still turn tables with each other totally. Recalling those carefree years with Liu Bian, Li Moying sighed with emotions. Unfortunately, there was only one Huang Yuli, so he absolutely would not give up on the woman he liked. So perhaps he and Liu Bian's relationship weren't as great as these two sect masters. As there were some unpleasantries, so the banquet's atmosphere wasn't as good as what they planned from the start. Many of them seemed to be sitting on a carpet of thorns, wishing that the banquet would end sooner. You can also listen on. He finally lasted till 3 rounds of drinking was completed when Murongda stood up. Everyone, will you please remain silent for a while? I have some things to announce. He coughed and everyone instantly quietened down. Those present went all direct disciples and were the core of the sect. Everyone knew that Green Cloud's sect was here today to have a discussion on cooperation with Celestial Light sect and had more or less heard about the ancient mystic region. So Murongda's words didn't really raise an alarm. Instead, it made everyone's ears prick up as they wanted to know how the discussion on the cooperation went. Murongda continued, Green Cloud's sect Master Chui has graced us this visit today because Green Cloud's sect have recently discovered a new ancient mystic region at the boundary of West and South Sky regions. Hence they decided to seek Celestial Light sect for cooperation, thinking that we can work together to activate this mystic region. Regarding the two sects' cooperation to activate the mystic region, we have reached a consensus. But everyone should know that every single time an ancient mystic region is activated, the number of people who can enter are limited, so after an estimated calculation, the total number of people who can enter the mystic region for the first time is only around 30. But as for the distribution of these 30 quota, we have yet to set the specific verdict. Huang Yuli was also concentrating on listening. She had entered all of the discovered ancient mystic regions in Soaring Heavens continent in her past life, so she had a huge understanding regarding this aspect. For the ancient mystic region to be activated, it was totally reliant on 9th stage realm practitioners injecting their profound energy internally, and every single practitioner must expend a portion of their profound energy upon entering. As the Elder's profound energy total sum was fixed, so the number of practitioners who could enter were also fixed. Furthermore, the younger the practitioner, the lesser the amount of the profound energy would be expended, so normally those practitioners over 30 years old were not able to use this method to enter the mystic region. Murongda's words had just ended when Cui Yuanshan also stood up. He added, I and Sect Master Murong have discussed an initial proposal, which is why we have specially invited President Hu to be our witness. 3 days later, Green Cloud sect and Celestial Light sect will jointly hold a one-time arena tournament which is restricted only to the younger generation disciples. The sect which holds the victory of the arena tournament will obtain a 70% entrance quota to the mystic region. The minute Cui Yuanshan finished his words, the stage below was already in a riot. Green Cloud sect's disciples were all frowning with knitted brows. 70% of quotas. Why must it be distributed like that? The winning side will obtain 70%, then won't the losing side only have 30%? That's right, I'm not even in the top 10 among the direct disciples, so if there's only 30% quota, that would be equivalent to 9 places. Then there's definitely no show for me. Me too, and my ranking is even worse off than yours. What should we do if we are not the winner? Celestial Light sect's disciples were secretly rejoicing. This word actually came out from Green Cloud sect master's mouth. Am I hearing things? If it's this kind of distribution method, then the one who will get the 70% quota would definitely be a Celestial Light sect. Just think, what potential does our young sect master have? Green Cloud sect's number 1 ranking Lang Yifeng was defeated by young sect master in one move the last time. Isn't that so? This time we will definitely get the 70% quota. Looks like I'll have a chance to enter the mystic region. This is simply great. With the young sect master around, we don't need to worry at all. Not only Celestial Light Sect's disciples thought in this way, even Murongda also felt that Celestial Light Sect's chance of winning was confirmed. He touched his beard as he said smilingly, "Brother Chui, this afternoon you were still saying that you will not agree to this kind of arena tournament to fix the quota. Why have you changed your mind so soon? You can also listen on. I didn't expect you to be so broad-minded and willing to automatically give the quota up to a Celestial Light Sect." Murongda was laughing so much that he almost couldn't take it. He originally suggested the arena tournament was because he wanted to test Chui Yuanshan, with no expectation that he would agree to it. After all, even an idiot knew that even if all of Green Cloud Sect's direct disciples added up together, they weren't Li Moying's match at all. So if they really held an arena tournament, then wouldn't it be equivalent to giving up the quota to Celestial Light Sect for free? For someone as smart as Chui Yuanshan, would he do such a thing? Who knew that Chui Yuanshan actually agreed to this condition? Moreover, he had openly said this in front of President Hu and the disciples from both sects, so there was no way of going back on his words. Was there water in Chui Yuanshan's head? Chui Yuanshan swept the jubilant Murongda a glance as he harumphed heavily, "Junior brother Murong, why are you in such a haste? I haven't finished talking. I have supplementary conditions." "Why? What supplementary conditions? Tell me. I'll agree to all of it." Murongda had already treated the quota to enter the ancient mystic region as his object, so he was in a good mood and he spoke in a generous way. "You agree to it yourself?" Chui Yuanshan's eyes shone a little. "Wait, what on earth are you?" Murongda instinctively felt something was not right, as he tried to revert what he said earlier. But Chui Yuanshan had already declared loudly in front of everyone, "My condition is, for this arena tournament, disciples under 18 years old are only allowed to take part in it. Those who exceed this age are prohibited from joining in the tournament." "What? How will this do?" Murongda's expression changed immediately. Chui Yuanshan remained calm and composed while handling this pressing affair. "Sect Master Murong, you agreed to this earlier. We all have a reputation to upkeep, so you cannot go back on your words." Murongda retorted angrily, "Stop using your words to run on me. You obviously schemed me in the first place. How can the arena tournament only allow under 18-year-olds to take part? Obviously disciples under 30 years old are able to enter the ancient mystic region. Then the standard for taking part in the arena tournament should maintain the same. Those under 30 years of age are able to take part." Murongda had not expected Chui Yuanshan to have this idea. If he were to agree to this condition, then it would be disadvantageous to them because Li Moying was already 20 years old. So he would definitely not be able to take part in the arena tournament. If they were short of Li Moying, then Celestial Light Sect's victory would possibly be lowered by half. Green Cloud Sect's combined ability was originally much higher than Celestial Light Sect by half, so it was imaginable that the younger disciple's ability most probably exceeded the latter. Murongda was insistent that he could not accept such conditions as he started arguing on this. But everyone knew how to calculate to their own favor, so Chui Yuanshan's stand was extremely firm. "Junior brother Murong, must you make things so clear? I don't want your sect's young sect masterly to join in the arena tournament. We are upright people, so we don't talk low. Who present here doesn't know his ability? The minute he joins in, we Green Cloud sect will definitely be at the losing end. This kind of competition is not fair at all. If you feel that you're reasonable, then let President Hu come and judge on this." President Hu was pushed out as a witness. He was very impartial as he immediately said, "I feel that Sect Master Chui has a point there. The minute young Sect Master Li makes his move, it is impossible for the arena tournament to continue because there would be no more suspense. Since it's a competition, then it should be conducted fairly. Cui Yuanshan's face immediately revealed a smile. So, you have two choices. Either you restrict the disciples to under 18 to take part in the tournament, or we can split the quota into half directly. You can also listen on. The moment Murongda heard what President Hu said, he knew there was no reason for him to continue debating, and his brows immediately creased as he sunk into a difficult moment. It was totally two different kinds of concept on dividing the quota equally and obtaining 70% of it. Because once they enter the ancient mystic region, the outside world would not know the scenario within the mystic region. In order to protect the sect's benefits, there was bound to be some kind of battle between the two sects. If the quota was divided equally, the number of people who could enter were almost the same, so there was bound to be a mutual win or loss situation. But if one party only obtained 30% of the quota, then after they enter the mystic region, the disparity between the two sides' ability would increase. The side which had more people would have an overwhelming advantage. If a scuffle were to break out, there was no suspense regarding which side would win or lose. Sometimes, some sects might even use underhanded methods to encircle and annihilate the disciples from the sect which had lesser people in order to obtain the exclusivity of the mystic region's resources. Sect mainly allied together for the sake of benefits, but the minute they entered the mystic region, their agreement was considered completed, so many others could do any kind of things then. So the number of people who entered the mystic region was very important and not as simple as it looked on the surface. Murongda pondered for a long time, and in the end he still felt insecure, so he opened his mouth. I originally didn't agree to using the arena tournament method to decide on the quota. This will hurt the harmony between our two sects, so I feel that towards the distribution of the mystic region's quota, it's not impossible. His speech sounded elegant, but still, it was lacking in spirit. Other than Li Moying, who else can go up against Green Cloud sect's eldest disciple Lang Yifeng? Before he finished his sentence, Cui Yuanshan suddenly butted in again, cutting off his words. Junior brother Murong, are you sure you want to divide the quota evenly? Are you seriously afraid of us Green Cloud sect? Without Mr. Li, Celestial Light sect is indeed a third-rated sect. Murongda was instantly stuffed as he suppressed his anger while his entire face flushed red. Although Celestial Light sect indeed relied on Li Moying to hang on, but for someone to say it out openly made him, the sect master, lost face. Cui Yuanshan looked at him and continued, but you don't need to be so scared. Did you think I'd take advantage of you? We, Green Cloud sect, are different from you. Every single disciple with us is abled, and it's not just the eldest disciple alone. To tell you the truth, my eldest disciple Lang Yifeng had just passed his 18th birthday last month. Murongda was stunned. Then, he also can't. Cui Yuanshan nodded. So how about it? Isn't my condition very fair? Although Mr. Li cannot engage in the tournament, but Lang Yifeng also can't take part in it. So on this point both of us are at the same starting point. When I said only those under 18 can take part in the tournament, it is absolutely not to cheat you. How about it? Are you still intending to divide the quota into half? Cui Yuanshan's eyes were fixed intently on Murongda as he popped the same question once again. Murongda couldn't help but frown as instinct told him that Cui Yuanshan was definitely up to no good. He couldn't possibly believe that a wily old fox like Cui Yuanshan would suddenly have a change of attitude, becoming so kind-hearted, and actually allowed his best eldest disciple to back out from the tournament. Competing for the mystic region's quota was a big matter which concerned the entire sect's future. How could he treat this as child's play, since he drew away his own trump card? But Cui Yuanshan had already put things to such a step, so if he still didn't agree to the tournament, then wouldn't it seem that Celestial Light sect had no power at all? He had automatically let his eldest disciple withdraw from the tournament, and they still didn't dare to take up the challenge. You can also listen on. Murongda's brows knitted together tightly as though he was tied up and roasted on fire, in a dilemma. Just at this moment, Li Moying's voice suddenly rang. since Sect Master Chui has already said this, then if our sect doesn't take up the challenge, it is indeed unacceptable. This arena tournament. We naturally must fight. No one expected Li Moying to say anything at this point of time, so momentarily, everyone's gaze is transferred onto him. Li Moying, who was dressed in black, entirely leaned against the spacious seat as he held up a wine cup in his hand. That slender, powerful and fair fingers lightly clasped the glazed cup as his posture was relaxed and elegant, his disposition cold but distinguished, as though he was a natural-born lord. Whereas by his side sat a slender and petite stunning young lady, as she watched him with a face filled with adoration. Li Moying casted a glance at the young lady beside him as he tilted his wine cup in front of her. The young lady obediently raised the wine jug and poured out wine for him personally. This scene made everyone sweat profusely when it entered their eyes. From the attitude, if they didn't know Li Moying's status and ability, they would probably thought that he was some flirtatious Casanova from the royal palace or some royalty indulged in enjoyment. Furthermore, everyone couldn't help but admire Li Moying's charm. He actually made the talented armament master act like a maid to help him pour wine. He had gained so much face. So, whoever said men cannot use their face to survive, How on earth would they know that Huang Yueli was having unspoken criticisms in her heart, scolding Li Moying at least 10 times, but now was not the best time to tear things apart with this wretched man. Even Murongda was stunned by this. Only after Li Moying sipped his wine did he finally regain his senses. Ah! Moying, have you heard clearly? According to Sect Master Chui's request, you cannot take part in this tournament. Murongda's first reaction was that Li Moying only cared about flirting with Huang Yueli and had not been listening to Cui Yuanshan's request. Cui Yuanshan hurriedly said, "Junior brother Murong, what do you mean by this? Doesn't Mr. Li's words represent your sect? Since that's the case, then no matter if he heard clearly or not, a real man never goes back on his words, so it's too late for regrets." What do you mean? Stop resorting to such trickery. Murongda started to get infuriated. However, Li Moying simply gave a slight smile. "Master, don't be overly anxious. I heard what Sect Master Chui said. Although I cannot take part in the tournament, but Master Lang as well, right? Since he doesn't take part, surely our Celestial Light sect would be able to win, no? Master really looks down on our Celestial Light sect disciples. Actually, Celestial Light sect's younger generation disciples are full of outstanding disciples, so we may not be any worse off than Green Cloud sect. There is definitely someone who can cause raging waves. If Sect Master Chui thinks that he is assured of a win, then it may be too early to be happy." Murongda's brows knitted tightly. "Moying, are you talking about your 5th junior brother?" "No, he's still lacking a little." "Then it should be your 2nd junior brother." "Not right too, then it can only be," he muttered to himself as he couldn't stop calculating. Li Moying didn't continue from his words as he allowed him to continue doing his calculations and at the same time downing the entire wine in his cup as he pushed the cup in front of Huang Yueli once again, with the meaning for her to fill up the wine. Huang Yueli pouted as she gave him a stare secretly but still lifted up the wine jug. Only while she was pouring wine, she gave a humph. "What's wrong with you? You're really good at pretending as though this is as usual, intentionally bullying me. You can also listen on." Li Moying heard her soft grumbling as the smile on his lips deepened. He turned his head around and directly leaned nearer to Huang Yueli as his breath sprayed near her ear. Huang Yueli's ear immediately turned red as a shade of pink appeared on her face and she shot him an angry gaze. "WH. What are you doing?" Li Moying suppressed his voice as he softly said, "I just like to bully you. Did you only realize it today?" "You." Huang Yueli turned melancholic as she almost threw the entire jug onto him. Li Moying laughed softly as he stretched out his hand and caught the lethal weapon, which was flying towards him. At the same time he secretly gave her a peck on the face. All right, be more obedient. I'm helping you fight for a quota to enter the mystic region to play. Can't you be more obedient for a little while? Huang Yueli then gave a humph before returning back to her seat as she placed the wine jug in order. The intimate actions between the both of them would normally have caused bursts of shrieks and discussions by those who had their eyes on them. But this time round, not many people put their attention on them. Everyone was like Murongde as they were guessing the probability of Celestial Light Sect's chance of winning. Young Sect Master actually is so confident that without him, we Celestial Light Sect can still obtain victory during the arena tournament. Could it be that we indeed have outstanding young talented disciples in the sect, only that they had been outshone by eldest senior brother's glow, so usually they're not remarkable? It must be so. I'm guessing young Sect Master's choice for the arena tournament should be Sect Master's 5th disciple Luo Jiyun. Mr. Luo is an 8th grade talent super genius and there's still 1 month before he turns 18, so he's allowed to take part in this arena tournament. I heard that the last time he returned from Dark Moon Forest, his ability had improved swiftly and his cultivation is already at 5th stage realm peak. Why can't the person be Mr. Li? Mr. Li's ability has obviously gotten stronger, he's already reached 6th stage realm 3rd level. But hasn't Master Li been injured by the young Sect Master? Didn't the doctor say that he cannot fight with anyone within 1 month? More importantly, he's already 19 this year, right? Then he definitely cannot take part in the tournament. No, wrong, you're all wrong. I think the candidate whom young Sect Master is talking about is Sect Master's eldest young Miss Murong. Have you all forgotten about eldest young Miss Murong's innate talent and ability? Furthermore, her age is just nice. Right, you're absolutely right, how come I didn't think of that? Eldest young Miss Murong is Sect Master's daughter, so she definitely must have learnt some special inherited profound skills which ordinary people cannot match up. This means, we seldom see eldest young Miss go up against others, but young Sect Master must have seen it before, which is why he said this. Everyone started to follow what the person who started this saying, as they felt that they must have guessed it correctly. Although Murong Fei was usually arrogant and loved to tangle around Li Moying, but that 8th grade talent was genuine and her cultivation had even surpassed Luo Jiyun by a huge distance. Among the younger generation of disciples, she was considered as one of the excelled ones. Only when she was being compared to Li Moying, her brilliance was outshone by his. Now that they were short of Li Moying and Li Lingchuan, who else was there in Celestial Light Sect? Wasn't the important task of reviving the sect going to be entrusted to Murong Fei? Murongde paused for a while, apparently his thoughts had followed along with the crowd. He turned his vision towards Murong Fei. Fei, I'd never thought that even your eldest senior brother thinks so highly of you. He believes that you can represent the sect to stand out in this battle, making every effort to save the desperate situation. You can also listen on. Since that's the case, then this arena tournament will all depend on you. Murongde smiled as he looked at his daughter, feeling delighted somehow. He had swept past all the outstanding young disciples in the sect and his conclusion was, other than Li Moying and Li Lingchuan, Murong Fei was absolutely the most outstanding among all the younger disciples. So the person who Li Moying mentioned could revive the sect, other than her, who else could it be? Even though Murong Fei's performance today had been obstinate and unruly, which made Celestial Light Sect embarrassed. But her potential had actually obtained Li Moying's recognition. This wasn't something which was easily done. Li Moying's standard was so high, it seemed as though this was his first time praising other people's ability. Thinking of this, Murongde felt that Murong Fei seemed more pleasing to the eye right now. Murong Fei herself was feeling extremely proud. She was just thinking that she had spent all her time on cultivation recently and had advanced to the 6th stage realm just so that she could perform in front of Li Moying to show that she was worthy of him, unlike that little slut who had neither potential nor status. She thought Li Moying didn't notice her. So, eldest senior brother had it all in his mind, the only thing was he didn't talk about it. Murong Fei couldn't help but took a glance at Li Moying with an expression filled with tender affection as unlimited hope suddenly started to rise towards him once again. Huang Yueli was eating something with her lips pouted when she noticed Murong Fei's sight and suddenly feeling stuffed, she almost threw up the things in her mouth. She kicked Li Moying hard in his foot to vent her anger. Li Moying turned to look at her in puzzlement. "Leer, why are you unhappy now?" Huang Yueli raised her chin as she indicated to him to look at Murong Fei. "There, your legendary fiancé is staring at you right now." Li Moying took a glance at Murong Fei and instantly understood what happened as he laughed out and touched Huang Yueli's soft hair, laughing lightly. "Why are you jealous of that Dumbo? There's only one person who is my fiancé." Murong Fei was hoping that Li Moying would give her some encouragement. But she didn't expect that Li Moying would just throw her an indifferent glance and started to flirt with Huang Yueli again. These two people just showed the world their love, making everyone envious of their relationship. But in Murong Fei's eyes, it was an extreme hindrance. She couldn't take it anymore as she hurriedly puffed up her chest and said loudly, "Father, eldest senior brother, rest assured. I will try my best to secure the 70% quota for our sect." She thought that by doing so, Li Moying would definitely take a look at her. However, Li Moying still didn't raise his head as all he could be bothered to do was to scoop soup for Huang Yueli. Cui Yuan Shan clapped his hands as he spoke in a deep voice. "Great. It's good that eldest young miss is so confident. She's really a moldable talent among the younger generation. Congratulations, junior brother Murong, for having such a good daughter. Since this is so, then we shall firm up the arena tournament like this. We shouldn't drag this on for too long, so after 7 days, our two sects shall jointly hold the arena tournament publicly. We'll like to invite President Hu to be our witness, and also let's invite a few South and West Sky regions' reputable practitioners to be the judge. What do you say?" Actually, Cui Yuan Shan was feeling puzzled. He had seen Murong Fei's ability previously. Not only was it not comparable to Li Moying's, as compared to Li Lingchuan, she was also miles apart. Li Moying actually saw her as celestial light sect's hope. Was he really that blind? Or could it be that there was some inside news which he didn't know about? But Cui Yuan Shan himself had a trump card in his hand, so he wasn't too worried that the Green Cloud sect would lose. You can also listen on. Murong Do was so confident now, so he naturally wouldn't reject this proposition. "Alright, then we shall agree on this. Since the big matter has been set, plus the fact that the atmosphere at the banquet wasn't really that good, so no one wanted to stay on any longer." After the official matters had been set, the reception quickly came to an end. This banquet was filled with twists and turns, and many shocking internal news were exposed. Lastly, the decision regarding the two sects arena tournament agitated everyone's feelings, so most of the people were not concerned about having any food. The only person who had a great meal was Huang Yueli. When Li Moying wanted to lead her back, she looked sorry as she saw the amount of food left behind on the table. "This shrewish fish slices is really yummy, even yummier than how I usually prepared it." Li Moying looked at her salivating look as he couldn't help but felt it was a funny sight. "Alright, little gluttony cat, it's just a fish, do you need to be like this? Have I starved you every day or what?" Huang Yueli rolled her eyes at him. "What do you know? Eating is a kind of enjoyment, not just for the sake of filling your tummy." Li Moying looked at her pampered and arrogant look as he helplessly shook his head. "Look, you've eaten so much that your little tummy is popping out. Stop eating and go home. The chef in our sect lives just up the mountain and he will not run away. If you really like to eat this so much, I'll get him to come to our home to cook for you tomorrow." Huang Yueli's eyes shone. "Really? I want to ask him what exclusive recipe does he have to be able to cook it in such a way which tastes much more delicious than mine. How could it be?" Li Moying had to coax and lie to her before he could drag his little gluttony cat out of the main hall. Whoever knew that they had just stepped out of the main hall when they bumped into the very person whom they didn't want to see the most, Murong Fei. Their faces instantly sunk as Huang Yueli tugged Li Moying's sleeve, wanting to bring her fiancé away. But Murong Fei herself went right up as she spoke out aloud, "Eldest senior brother, wait for me. You're really slow in coming out, I've been waiting for you for the longest time." Li Moying's gaze was cold as he didn't say a word. Huang Yueli however gave a chilly laugh, "Eldest young Miss Murong, the banquet has long ended, so why are you here waiting for my fiancé? Could it be that you've realized that your apology was too superficial earlier, so you're waiting here specially to re-apologize to me?" Murong Fei was stuffed by her words as she almost flared up again. She clenched her teeth as she spoke back in a bad mood, "Why should I apologize to you? Although you're the armament refining talent which President Hu values highly, but it's for the sex regulations, which was why I asked you to change seats. Earlier the apology was so that my father could get off the stage, so stop being so self-centered. Alright, I have official matters to discuss with my eldest senior brother, so go back on your own." She then waved her hand at Huang Yueli, indicating for her to leave by herself. Huang Yueli was indeed stunned and a little surprised. What medicine had Murong Fei taken to suddenly display such boldness? Huang Yueli laughed coldly, "There's something interesting. What official matters could you have with Moying to discuss about? Moreover speaking, I'm Moying's fiancé and he never hides anything from me, so just speak it out here directly." Murong Fei spoke out proudly, "So what if your eldest senior brother's fiancé? You're just a vase. Armament masters can't do anything in the arena tournament. You'd better leave quickly. I have to discuss with my eldest senior brother regarding the arena tournament, which is a huge matter in Celestial Light Sect. It's not something which people of low ability like you can take part in." Huang Yueli blinked her eyes as she said in surprise, "Surely you don't really think that? Moying thinks highly of you. You can also listen on." Murong Fei spoke in a matter-of-course manner, "That's of course, other than eldest senior brother and second senior brother, I'm the strongest among the younger generation of disciples. If he didn't think highly of me, don't tell me he thinks highly of you." Huang Yueli looked at her delighted expression as she suddenly couldn't help but started laughing. But she merely shrugged her shoulders. "All right, then allow me to remind this most powerful senior sister Murong a gentle reminder. Since Green Cloud Sect dares to state such a condition, then they must have come well prepared. Although we still can't tell what trump card Sect Master Chui has now, then you must prepare yourself properly, in case your boat overturns in a narrow lane." Murong Fei was most unwilling to listen to Huang Yueli's advice. She immediately gave a cold humph. "Do I need to listen to your advice? I know this much clearer than you. That's the reason why I came to look for eldest senior brother, so that we can discuss this properly." She looked towards Li Moying in a pleading gaze, blinking her delicate and attractive eyes which was sparkling with a bewitching glare. One got to admit that Murong Fei was indeed a beauty who was rarely seen, and she knew how to display herself to her own advantage, so when she acted pitiful, she indeed had the capability to bewitch a man, which was why so many men had fallen down under her feet. Only thing was, this act of hers was totally ineffective towards a man like Li Moying. Li Moying remained expressionless as he coldly spat out the two words, "Not free." Ah. Murong Fei was instantly stunned. She had searched for such a good excuse to get close to Li Moying, thinking that he would at least pay some attention to her for the sake of the sex benefits. However, reality was out of her expectations. Just as Murong Fei was in a daze, Li Moying had already hooked Huang Yueli's waist and leading her to leave this place in quick steps. "Eldest senior brother, wait." Murong Fei started moving her legs to chase up to him, but she didn't manage to do so. She was so upset that she stomped her feet. "Damn it! It's all by Ruoli, that little vixen's fault. Things will not end so simply today. Just you wait, after I cut a shine at the arena tournament, I'll take care of you then. Huang Yule faintly heard Murong Fei's cursing. Li Moying frowned as he grew unhappy and wanted to turn back to give Murong Fei a beating. But he had just moved when Huang Yule guessed what he was thinking about, as she stretched out her hand to grab hold of him. Wait a minute, what are you trying to do? Don't tell me you're intending to deal with Murong Fei. Li Moying replied coldly, this woman is just too irritating. Today she had insulted you several times, so how would it do if I don't teach her a lesson? Huang Yule immediately replied, don't be like this. If you want to teach her a lesson, there are plenty of chances to do so. Now Celestial Light Sect still requires her eldest young Miss Murong to win the quota for entering the Mystic region. If you were to injure her, then Celestial Light Sect's benefits would be a huge loss. Li Moying turned his head around as his perfectly shaped peach blossom eyes sparkled with a cold glint, looking at her as he helplessly shook his head. You are speaking sarcastically again. You're really a pampered, arrogant and black-bellied little fox. You obviously know that I had agreed to hold the arena tournament because you told me that you are certain you can defeat Green Cloud Sect's disciples and obtain victory in the tournament. Otherwise, I can't be bothered with these matters. Since this is the case, what's the difference if Murong Fei was around or not? Huang Yule shook her head as she smiled mysteriously. What do you mean by there's no difference? The difference is extremely huge. I'm not the past life's you. How can I defeat every single opponent? I can only manage those extremely powerful ones only. So before I go up on stage, there definitely must be a cannon fodder to help me block out the rest. You can also listen on. Tell me, is there anyone else who is more suitable than eldest young Miss Murong to be this cannon fodder? Huang Yule's eyes opened wide as she spoke in a very sincere tone. So, it's extremely important for Murong Fei's body to remain healthy at this point of time, so you're not allowed to touch even one strand of hair on her. Even if I suddenly wanted to punch her out of fury, you have to stop me, do you understand or not? In order for the cannon fodder to extend its largest use, it was necessary for her to tolerate with this moment of fury. She understood clearly that there was a degree or priority for every matter. Li Moying laughed as he shook his head, thinking in his heart that if Murong Fei were to find out about that in his little fox's eyes, she was just merely cannon fodder while she was still acting so delightfully, assuming that she would be the savior for Celestial Light Sect, what would she feel? She probably might just throw up blood on the spot and fainted. No way, in order for the cannon fodder to retain its value, this news absolutely cannot be casually revealed. Li Moying suddenly recalled a matter as he suddenly kept away his smile as he asked solemnly, Lear, tell me honestly, how certain are you to be able to defeat all of Green Cloud Sect's contenders to retain the position of Arena Master? Huang Yule blinked. About this, she was a little guilty, about 50% I guess, 50%. Li Moying's forehead creased tightly as he grabbed her shoulders while howling by the side of her ear. Aren't your guts a little too much? Just 50% chance and you actually agreed. Huang Yule immediately covered her ears. Can't you be a little softer? My ears are going deaf. Li Moying then took a deep breath as he lowered his voice, but his tone was still extremely unhappy. What on earth are you doing? I thought you were very sure of your own ability and trusted you, which was why I agreed to the arena tournament. In the end, you're telling me that you are only 50% sure that you can win. Huang Yule pouted as she said, Hey, you're not like this in the past. Do you need to be so exaggerated? 50% is already considered a very high percentage. There are so many scenarios which could happen in an arena tournament, many of which I cannot totally control. For example, that Green Cloud Sect Master Chui. He definitely has a trump card up his sleeve, just that we don't know what it is. And how long can the cannon fodder eldest young Miss Murong hang on? I also don't know, so all these are counted into the success or failure probability. Hearing her grumbles, Li Moying then realized that he really seemed to be overly agitated. A practitioner with outstanding innate talent wanting to break through oneself to become a real top expert, other than cultivating hard, it was also very important for one to ignite their own potential during a crisis. So in their past life, both he and Huang Yueli were practitioners who dared to take risks, and because of that, they were able to become 9th stage realm super top experts. At that time, as long as he had a 20 to 30% certainty, he would have a go at it. What more for a 50% certainty, to him this was extremely high. At that time, since when had he considered so much? Actually, even if it was this lifetime, while he was outside learning through experience, he seldom gave up any opportunities right in front of his eyes, even if he needed to take a huge risk. But when he faced Huang Yueli, he turned into a coward. Perhaps it was because of Huang Yueli's terrible death in her past life which left him a huge trauma. So the minute he heard that she had only 50% certainty, he immediately became overly anxious. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli saw that he kept silent as she stretched out her arm to embrace his neck, rubbing her soft face against his. All right, rest assured. I will definitely let Celestial Light Sect obtain the 70% quota into the Mystic region, and I will also improve my ability. Part of the reason why she wanted to take part in the arena tournament was to help Li Moying, but the more important reason was because she wanted to use the battle to temper herself. Her cultivation had advanced very quickly in the past year, but her experience training just wasn't enough. Other than the few times which she had been pursued entering a life and death situation, there were very few battle experiences. A practitioner's potential could only be spiked in the middle of a battle. So taking part in this kind of arena tournament to her was a huge aid. Li Moying naturally understood this very well, so he coordinated with her actions. Thinking of this, Li Moying stretched out his arm, placing it on her slender waist as he drew her closer slowly, bringing her entirely into his embrace. Lear, I'm only worried about you. Huang Yueli smiled as she said, relax, I've already got plans. There's still 7 days before the arena tournament, so I will grasp my time tightly to continue cultivating. After that, I'll attempt to break through to the 5th stage realm. Attempt to break through to 5th stage realm. These kinds of words, even to Li Moying's ears, also made him silently shocked. A 14-year-old young lady. No, 15-year-old. Huang Yueli had actually passed her 15-year-old birthday in the Inheritance Tower, so now she was officially of marriageable age. But even though she was older by 1 year, to be able to break through to 5th stage realm at 15 years old was still a shocking and terrifying record. Could it be that she really was able to do this? This was simply too abnormal. Li Moying looked at the young lady in his arm passionately. Even though she was already by his side daily, and even sleeping next to him, but sometimes she was still able to surprise and shock him. Every day, he would admire and love her a little more than the day before. You have just advanced to 4th stage realm peak not too long ago, so if you're going to upgrade your cultivation again, would it be too quick? Has your cultivation already stabilized? The dangers of advancing too quickly, you know it all too well yourself, surely you don't need me to say anything more, right? Li Moying spoke out about his worries. Because he knew Huang Yueli had once reached the 9th stage realm and had her own set of cultivation method, so towards her cultivation methods, he never dabbled in it. But this time round, she was going to advance to a new huge realm again, so this made Li Moying slightly worried. Huang Yueli said, indeed slightly too fast, so if it's not absolutely necessary, I do not intend to advance within this period of time. I just don't know what Cui Yuan Shan is plotting, so under circumstances where I have no choice, it's better for me to make preparations for advancement first. Li Moying held her little hand, all right, as long as you know what's your bottom line. Huang Yueli spoke out again, during my advancement, I may need some ingredients, so I need your help to prepare it. Relax, these small things, just let your fiancé handle it. Li Moying smiled as he kissed her. This day, they were all tired out. So after discussing the official matters, they quickly settled down to rest. The next day, Li Moying was called by Murongda once again. Huang Yueli was in the residence when she heard a loud knocking on the door. Before Li Moying left, he told her that the chef who made the boiled fish slices was going to come over today. You can also listen on. When Huang Yueli heard the knocking sound, she thought the chef had arrived, so in a moment of excitement, even before Moe could inform her, she already ran out. Chef Lin, I heard Moying mentioned that you worked in Sky Emperor City. Who are you? The minute she ran to the door, Huang Yueli took a careful look and her footsteps took a halt as she frowned in puzzlement. Standing in front of her was a young man dressed in a navy blue long robe. He was tall and had good-looking features, totally able to tell that he was a top expert. Somehow, he even looked slightly familiar. But Huang Yueli totally couldn't recall who he was. The person who came also went into a daze as his handsome face revealed a shocked expression. Miss Bai, you don't remember me? We just met yesterday. Huang Yueli blinked as she totally had no impression. Her attention was totally on Li Moying yesterday, and they only had each other in their eyes, so where would she find the space to remember another man? The guest seemed slightly disappointed as he sighed. Miss Bai, let me introduce myself. I'm the eldest disciple from Green Cloud sect, Leng Yifeng. Does it ring a bell now? Oh, Huang Yueli merely responded in this manner, because to tell the truth, she did have the impression, but she really couldn't remember what he looked like. After all, no matter what, he wasn't as handsome as her fiancé, nor did he have the disposition that her fiancé had. For someone as picky as her, the exceptional handsome males in other people's eyes were almost the same as air in her eyes. So the only impression she had of Leng Yifeng was, he was Li Moying's defeated opponent. Leng Yifeng saw her enlightened look, but he had not expected himself to have been categorized as a trash. He was thinking that it was his good looks which made the beauty gain some interest. He revived his senses as he said, Miss Bai, it's really a pleasure to meet you. Yesterday, just after one look, it felt like old friends at our first meeting. Too bad our distance was too far apart, so we didn't manage to say a word to each other. Now we finally have the chance to meet. You look even prettier close up. Young sect Master Li is really lucky. Huang Yueli felt that these words seemed rather weird. However, Leng Yifeng was obviously not some good guy, so she didn't want to interact too much with him as she said, You're here to look for Moying, right? Too bad he's been called by the sect masters, so do come back another day. I'll excuse myself first. She turned around about to leave when Leng Yifeng hurriedly stopped her. Miss Bai, please wait a moment. Leng Yifeng's potential was an exception. Although he wasn't an equal match to Li Moying, but he was still a 6th-stage realm 7th-level top expert. Among the younger generations, he was a terrifying genius. No matter if it was in terms of profound grade, cultivation method or actual combat experience, he was extremely outstanding in all aspects. Huang Yueli was blocked by him and wasn't able to route past him, so she could only stop in her footsteps. Her expression sunk. Master Leng, may I know what can I do for you? Leng Yifeng plainly paused as he didn't know how to open his mouth. Huang Yueli frowned as she continued, If there's nothing, then please, Miss Bai, I have something to say to you. Leng Yifeng seemed as though he was determined as he suddenly raised his head to open his mouth. Huang Yueli knew that she wasn't his match, so she could only shrug her shoulders. All right, please go ahead. Leng Yifeng said, Right here. What's the matter? Not able to. Huang Yueli found this place rather suitable. Leng Yifeng shook his head. the matter which I'm going to tell you is very important and cannot be heard by others. It's best that we find a secluded place to talk about it. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli's eyebrows rose, deepening the feeling that this fellow was up to no good. But as this was Li Moying's turf, she gauged that Ling Yifeng had no way to do any overly exaggerated actions, so she might as well listen to what he wanted to say. All right then, will Master Lang please follow me? Huang Yueli nodded her head, turned around and led Ling Yifeng into the front hall. She pointed at the seat on the side. Master Lang, please have a seat. You can now speak whatever you wanted to say. Ling Yifeng's vision swept towards Moe, who stood not too far away behind Huang Yueli as his lips curled up. I said earlier that I hoped this matter wouldn't be heard by any outsiders, so may I trouble this shadow guard to leave us for a moment. Huang Yueli squinted her eyes as she turned towards Moe. Brother Moe, please leave us for a moment. When Moe heard that, his feet didn't move as he gave a hesitant look. Third Miss, no problem. Just go on. Master Lang is here to discuss matters with me and harbors no evil intention, so there won't be any danger. Moe thought about it, and listening to her, he turned around to leave. But after he left the front hall, he hurriedly called for a maid to pass the message over to young sect master quickly. He wasn't worried that Huang Yueli would get into any trouble. Towards this future mistress ability, Moe was extremely confident. If Ling Yifeng had any designs on her, the person who would get into deep *T would be himself. But no matter how Moe looked, this Ling Yifeng seemed to harbor some intentions towards Huang Yueli, because the gaze he casted upon her could clearly tell that he was some ulterior motive. This matter must absolutely be conveyed to Li Moying immediately, otherwise he won't be able to absolve himself of the blame. In the study room, Huang Yueli calmly shot a glance at Ling Yifeng as she spoke out. Master Ling, there's no one else now. This room is also set up with a soundproof array, so you need not worry that anyone else is eavesdropping on us. Feel free to speak your mind. Ever since Ling Yifeng saw her at the entrance, he had been keeping his eyes on her. After Huang Yueli broke through to the fourth stage realm, her looks became extremely outstanding with a natural-born aloofness and elegance, so beautiful that it left a deep impression. When Ling Yifeng saw her rushing out with a huge smile on her face, his heart started floating, feeling that he made the right choice in coming over today. Alas, the minute Huang Yueli saw him, the smile on her face disappeared, and that made Ling Yifeng extremely disappointed. He smiled at Huang Yueli only to realize that his smile towards other women, which was usually successful, had no effect on Huang Yueli at all. This elegant and outstanding little beauty didn't even bat an eye at him. In fact, she even displayed faint impatience. Ling Yifeng silently clenched his teeth as he opened his mouth. Miss Bai, my apologies for asking. Yesterday at the banquet, I heard that you are young sect Master Li's prenatal betrothal fiancé. Is that true? Huang Yueli hadn't expected him to ask about this as she frowned slightly. Master Lang, yesterday Moying should have already introduced my identity, isn't it? Furthermore, even if he didn't, everyone should be able to tell what kind of relationship we have. The underlying meaning was, asking this kind of question, are you blind? Ling Yifeng had not expected her to retort him back in such an immodest manner, as his expression turned slightly stiff. He was also a handsome male who had constantly been surrounded by women, and bore an existence which was admired by many in Green Cloud's sect. Only thing was, he usually looked down on female practitioners, feeling that it was beneath his dignity to speak to them. You can also listen on. This time round, he had finally met a young lady who barely lifted his interest, even taking the initiative to speak to her. So he had never imagined that he would actually be dismissed in such a way. This young lass, obviously, when she was beside Li Moying yesterday, her face was filled with smiles and she looked extremely sweet and adorable, behaving in a sweet and helpless way. Lang Yifeng instantly felt upset. He was originally prepared to test Huang Yueli slowly, to lay some padding, but now, he wasn't able to curb the impulse in his heart. Lang Yifeng couldn't stop himself from blurting out, "Miss Bai, why are you so dead set on Master Li? I heard that you just traveled over from South Yu Kingdom to look for you, but do you know what kind of person is Li Moying? He obviously had ill intentions towards you and isn't worthy of you." Huang Yueli couldn't take it whenever anyone spoke bad about Li Moying. Her forehead instantly creased as she slammed the teacup heavily back on the tea set. "Master Lang, please speak politely. I invited you in not to listen to you talk bad things about my fiancé. If you're going to continue like this, then I'll have to send you out." Lang Yifeng continued, "Miss Bai, you're actually so defensive of him because you don't know the truth and that I'm not lying. Did you know that before you came to Celestial Light Sect, Li Moying and Sect Master Murong's eldest daughter, eldest young Miss Murong, had always been a couple? They were even discussing their marriage plans. I originally thought that they really had a good relationship, but in the end, this time round when I came over, he's actually now with you." Huang Yueli's expression grew gloomier. "This is slander. My Moying had never been together with Murong Fei. That's just Murong Fei's own wishful thinking. Master Lang, looks like we have nothing to talk about already. Miss Bai, why are you holding on obstinately towards your wrong beliefs? I'm telling you, Li Moying is a snob. Think about it, he was with Murong Fei in the beginning, and why did he have a change of heart later on? Because from the start, he feels that marrying Murong Fei would enable him to become Celestial Light Sect Master, so he treated her with false feelings. When a genius armament master like you appeared, he had already stabilized his position as young Sect Master. Now that he feels that you have an even brighter future and of much more value, he chose to be with you instead. I know Li Moying indeed looks extremely outstanding, and he's also apt at his sweet nothings, but please don't be coaxed by those few words of him and let it cover up your eyes on the truth." When Huang Yueli heard that, she almost laughed out of anger. In order to vilify Li Moying, Lang Yifeng really said anything he wanted to, and furthermore said it in such a way that seemed like it was the truth. If it wasn't for the fact that she and Li Moying were really in love with each other, she might really have been cheated by him. But when was Li Moying a man who said sweet nothings to coax a woman? Usually in front of other women, he was like a block of ice. Even in front of her, although he was gentle and meticulous, but he didn't quite know how to say sweet nothings. Basically, as long as he didn't intentionally tease her or made her angry, it was already an achievement. Lang Yifeng actually said such things. Did he treat her as an idiot? Furthermore, his motives were just too obvious. Huang Yueli had many pursuers who went after her, so she was still rather sensitive towards people like Lang Yifeng, who came with such attitude and the motives they had. Only, in her past life, who dared to say anything bad about Mu Qingying? This lifetime, it was indeed a rare feeling to have someone daring to say such things about him. Lang Yifeng looked at her chilled expression, but he totally wasn't aware of Huang Yueli's ridicule towards him in her heart. You can also listen on. Lang Yifeng thought that Huang Yueli believed in his words and was disappointed with Li Moying when he grabbed the opportunity and continued, "Miss Bai, don't be overly upset. For someone like you who has such outstanding armament refining talent, and you're so beautiful, there are plenty of people who like you, so you'd definitely be able to find someone who is true to you. You really don't need to hang yourself around Li Moying this tree, and you totally have better choices out there." When Huang Yueli heard what he said, she raised her head and gave him a glance which didn't quite resemble a smile. Better choices? Master Lang's meaning? Could it be talking about yourself? Lang Yifeng was stunned for a moment, not expecting her to expose his motive in such a short amount of time. In fact, he was exposed almost immediately. He thought that Huang Yueli was a reserved beauty. After all, she was still young and looked so pure and harmless, as though she had no experience on BGR, boy-girl relationship, matters at all. In this way, he became slightly awkward. But Lang Yifeng felt that today was a good opportunity. He had enough chips on his hands, and while Huang Yueli was disappointed with Li Moying, she would surely be touched by him. He hurriedly responded, "If Miss Bai is willing to consider me, you will absolutely realize that I'm much more outstanding than Li Moying. And I'm definitely more worthy of you." Huang Yueli laughed out noncommittally, "Master Lang, I don't quite understand what you're saying. There should be no qualms about Moying's potential and innate talent, as it indeed is much stronger than you by quite a lot. Furthermore, he is already the young sect master of Celestial Light sect, whereas you are merely the eldest disciple of Green Cloud sect. In terms of future, he has an edge over you. Moreover speaking, I admire his looks more, so I simply cannot see which point that you outshine him." Her tone was flat as she opened her big eyes as though she was expressing her puzzlement. But that tone bore a slight ridicule. When Lang Yifeng heard that, he immediately cried out irreconcilably, "Miss Bai, how can a man be just based on looks? Whether one is good-looking or not, it shouldn't be considered as his ability, right? Of course his innate talent is indeed much higher than mine, but I'm at least a 9th-grade talent. Furthermore, the reason why I'm not the successor of the future sect master isn't because of my lack of potential, but because my family's background is larger than Green Cloud sect, so in future I will definitely leave Green Cloud sect." "Oh." Hearing this made Huang Yueli surprised. "Your family background isn't," Lang Yifeng replied, "I'm the direct descendant of Sky Emperor City's top 10 famils, Lang family. As my master is my father's best buddy, my father sent me to Green Cloud sect as a form of experience training, so when I turn 20, I will return to Sky Emperor City." Huang Yueli's brows rose in astonishment. Ling family in Sky Emperor City was indeed considered as a large powerhouse. For Lang Yifeng to have such a background, it was simply out of one's imagination. No wonder he was so arrogant, and no wonder he was so recalcitrant towards Li Moying. This kind of descendants in such family background were mostly high and mighty, not to mention arrogant. It was hard for them to accept a third-rated sect with someone in the same generation as them to have the ability and innate talent to completely crush themselves. Lang Yifeng continued, "Miss Bai, you should know how hard it is for ordinary practitioners to have a piece of their own heaven in Sky Emperor City. You have such great armament refining talent, so in future you'd definitely head to Sky Emperor City. But the water there runs deep, and those without a strong base would find it hard to lift up their feet. If you are with me, that would be completely different. We Ling family are absolutely a large family whose words carry weight. You can also listen on." Huang Yueli laughed as she said, "In this case, is Master Lang hinting me that you have a feelings towards me and intend to marry me?" Lang Yifeng's face revealed an embarrassed expression. Huang Yueli actually said things so clearly, totally with no shyness of an unwed young lady, which made him extremely embarrassed. But Lang Yifeng felt that she was just someone with no reservation and still didn't understood BGR matters, which was why she was so frank. There weren't many pure ladies like this nowadays. How would he guess that Huang Yueli's shyness also depends on the person? In front of Li Moying, she wasn't like this, but towards Lang Yifeng, this kind of rotten peach blossom, she was really frank, because mainly she didn't treated him like anything at all. Lang Yifeng continued, "Miss Bai, I'm absolutely true towards you. Those who knows about my background are far and few. In fact, other than my master, there's not many others who knows about it. I'm telling this to you now because I sincerely want to be together with you. As compared to my sincerity, what can Li Moying, that man, give you? You must think about this carefully. Don't think that he's so arrogant in South Sky region now. If one day he heads to Sky Emperor City, he would be a servant whom anyone can bully. Actually, no matter what, Li Moying's innate talent was above ninth grade, so even if he went to Sky Emperor City, he would be a talent which various large powerhouses fought over for, so how was it possible for him to become a servant? But Lang Yifeng was overly hasty in trying to win Huang Yueli over, so he intentionally exaggerated things. He was certain that Huang Yueli had just came from South Yu Kingdom, the countryside place, so she had probably only been to Sky Cloud City. Towards Sky Emperor City, the center of the entire continent, she had no idea how it was like and was very easy to deceive. Lang Yifeng was determined to win Huang Yueli over. Because President Hu had said this, that she already had the potential of a third-rank armament master, and she even had a master who was an armament master in Sky Emperor City. If he was able to pull such an armament refining talent to his side, it was considered as a huge contribution to the family and would greatly heighten his position in the family. What was more hard to find was that she was so stunning that even a twinkle or smile was enough to move one's soul. Lang Yifeng wasn't a silly fool. For a person with both talents and riches, if he passed this village, he would not come across this shop ever again. Huang Yueli already could ascertain something after she heard what he said. She originally allowed him to enter because she wanted to hear if he had any ulterior motive, and if it would affect the arena tournament. Now finding out about Lang Yifeng's background was also a kind of harvest. She was already impatient in dealing with Lang Yifeng, so she said, "Master Lang, I'm well aware of your intentions in coming here, but as you can see it, Moying and I have a very good relationship and I don't have any intention to leave him. So I can only reject your good intentions, please leave." Lang Yifeng was stunned. Earlier he saw Huang Yueli shocked several times and had thought she was already touched by him. Whoever knew? She changed the topic and suddenly became so cold. He couldn't accept this result and couldn't help but stood up, shooting towards Huang Yueli in a few steps. "Miss Bai, why are you so stubborn? Li Moying absolutely isn't true to you." As he was saying that, he got agitated and was about to grab Huang Yueli's delicate fair hand. Huang Yueli frowned and tried to evade him. Suddenly the door of the main hall was kicked open from the outside and a gust of strong wind instantly swept towards the both of them. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli immediately detected a familiar presence, so she totally didn't avoid it as she stood at the original spot. Lang Yifeng sensed that this gust of profound energy was extremely strong and wasn't something which he could go up against, so he hurriedly slipped to one side hoping to avoid it. However, the speed of the person was too fast and he simply could not avoid it at all. His feet had yet to shift when he was struck by that raging thunder attributed profound energy. Luckily, as Lang Yifeng was a direct descendant of the Lang family, he put on a high-level profound armor on him, and although he was struck, his injury wasn't very serious. Lang Yifeng gave off a dull moan as he clutched his chest and turned his head around to take a look. Standing in front of the door was Li Moying with an icy cold face. That pair of bewitching peach-blossomed eyes revealed a murderous air, as he looked towards Lang Yifeng with a frigid expression. "Master Lang, what are you trying to do to my woman?" His thin lips moved as the words which he spat out were like icicles. Lang Yifeng couldn't help but shuddered hard as he was filled with shock and terror. He didn't know why he was so afraid, that his heartbeat almost stopped. Li Moying was just a practitioner from a third-rated sect and his background was totally incomparable to his. Whenever Lang Yifeng talked about him, it was usually full of disdain, and even when he talked about him to Huang Yueli earlier, he was still belittling Li Moying with confidence. But now when he faced the real person, other than shock, Lang Yifeng's heart was still filled with shock. Too powerful. Li Moying was merely at 7th stage realm, but why was his imposing manner so powerful? Even giving off the misperception that he was facing a 9th stage realm top expert. Li Moying was radiating with coldness as he slowly walked towards Huang Yueli. When Lang Yifeng saw him nearing, he shivered as he hurriedly spoke out, Li Moying, what do you want to do? Li Moying pulled Hong Yueli into his embrace and lifted up her face, taking a look all around, then touching her little hand to ascertain that she had not been touched by another man before he heaved a sigh of relief. But he still gave her an apprehensive look. Huang Yueli didn't know if she should laugh or cry, thinking silently that this man really was too easily jealous. Obviously nothing had happened, but why was it that the expression on his face looked as though he had drunk a whole urn of vinegar? Li Moying's icy cold glance shot towards Lang Yifeng. You dare to come harass my fiancé when I'm not around, and still trying to ask me what I'm trying to do. I want to ask, Master Lang, what are you intending to do? Your Green Cloud sect, are you thinking of resorting to some underhanded schemes? Lang Yifeng was seen through by him as he felt extremely guilty. His trip here this time round was indeed not because of himself. At the same time it was also for Green Cloud sect. The arena tournament was at the corner, so if the gossip of Celestial Light sect's young sect master's fiancé turning towards Green Cloud sect, Celestial Light sect would definitely be deeply set back, losing all their spirit, and would be difficult for them to gain the last victory. Li Moying had always hated those houseflies which harassed his lair, and on seeing Lang Yifeng not speaking a single word, the profound energy might in his body almost uncontrollably spread towards Lang Yifeng. Lang Yifeng found it hard to breathe under his suppression as his face turned extremely pale. The disparity between the potentials was simply too distinct. He cried out loudly, Li Moying. You're just a normal practitioner with no foundation. If you dare to be disrespectful to me, in future when you come to Sky Emperor City, I'll definitely make sure that you can't hang around there. You can also listen on. The moment Lang Yifeng's words came out, Li Moying hadn't even said a word when Huang Yueli, who was lying in Li Moying's embrace, almost burst out in laughter. Although the Lang family were considered as Sky Emperor City's powerhouse, but in front of a genius like Li Moying, it was really nothing much. In their past lives, an elder from the Lang family behaved servilely in front of Mu Qingying, displaying all sorts of cajolery and apple polishing. As long as Mu Qingying was willing to cast him a look, he was so grateful that he was in tears. Now, an ordinary member of the Lang family dared to threaten Li Moying. Huang Yueli totally was sure that Li Moying was extremely angry. Fighting with his woman was already an extremely huge sin, and now he even dared to provoke him. Based on Huang Yueli's understanding of Li Moying, Lang family was definitely blacklisted by him. In future, when he resumes his past potential, he would absolutely let the other party see some colors. The entire Lang family would probably suffer along with Lang Yifeng. However, Lang Yifeng had totally not realized that he had already caused a huge disaster. On seeing Li Moying keeping silent, he began to act in an ostentatious manner. How's that? You didn't expect that, right? That I'm actually from the Lang family? Now are you afraid? Actually, I didn't want to use my family background to bully ordinary practitioners, but for a person like you who cheats Miss Bai's feelings, forcibly occupying Miss Bai whom you aren't worthy of, then I can. Lang Yifeng was halfway in his speech when he suddenly gave out a miserable cry. At the same time, his body flew up into midair and crashed heavily onto the door panel, staving through the door panel. By the time he landed on the ground, his entire body felt so painful that it was about to split apart, and all his internal organs felt as though it was on fire. Huang Yueli immediately covered her eyes the minute Li Moying struck. Lang Yifeng was simply looking for trouble. He could talk about anything, but he had to mention that Li Moying wasn't worthy of her. One needed to know that Li Moying hated the most to hear other people saying that the both of them weren't compatible. No matter who said one of them wasn't worthy of the other, it could easily cause him to fly into a rage. She had to say that the profound armor on Lang Yifeng was indeed some high-class stuff and extremely useful. Even after he was sent flying by Li Moying, he actually didn't faint from the shock. Lang Yifeng struggled to climb up but realized that several bones had been broken, so he totally couldn't get up at all. He could only try his best to raise his head as he stared ferociously at Li Moying. You dare, you actually dare to. Just you, wait. And Lang Yifeng used all his strength but wasn't able to even complete a full threatening sentence, so naturally there was no deterrent force at all. Even Huang Yueli rolled her eyes, feeling that he was just too retarded. Even more so for Li Moying. He couldn't even be bothered to cast him a glance as he directly waved his hand. Moe and Moer, who were standing guard at the entrance, immediately responded as two of them stood on each side of Lang Yifeng and, lifting up his two legs, dragged him as they threw him out. You all dare to treat me in this way? Let me go. Lang Yifeng's miserable screams were heard from the main hall, and Huang Yueli felt slightly comical about it, but she couldn't laugh out loud. Because right after dealing with Lang Yifeng, Li Moying's gaze immediately turned towards her as his expression was super ugly, with a reprimanding look in his eyes. From this looks, it was evident that he was jealous. Huang Yueli felt that this jealous of his was just too absurd, but this man was now still fuming and was a tough nut to crack, so she didn't dare to speak out her real thoughts in her mind. You can also listen on. She gave an innocent expression. Moying, what's the matter with you? Why does your complexion seem not so well? Is it because you're too tired from work outside today? Do you want a cup of water and rest a little? I'll go pour you some tea. As Huang Yueli was saying that, she started to move backwards, trying to squirm out of his hands. How was it possible for Li Moying to let her escape? His arms withdrew and locked Huang Yueli back into his embrace, rightly locking her slender waist. Huang Yueli was held on tightly by his strength, and she crashed right onto his tough, robust chest as pain hit her. Oh, so painful, you're so fierce. She pouted her lips as she grumbled. Li Moying gave a cold humph, did the wrong thing and still tried to blame me for being fierce. Huang Yueli blinked her big eyes. What did I do wrong? Li Moying replied, I only went out for a little while and you actually let some man with ulterior motives into our house. Don't tell me that you can't tell that this Lang Yifeng had designs on you. You actually stayed in a room with him alone. Huang Yueli couldn't help but rolled her eyes. I know it. I say, can you be more reasonable? Aren't I trying to see what he wanted to do and wanted to find out if he was going to do something disadvantageous to you or Celestial Light Sect, which was why I agreed to meet him. Are you thinking that I'm interested in him? Moreover, even if he did have any ulterior motives, what can he do to me? Moe and the rest have been guarding at the door, and furthermore, the main hall is filled with mechanisms which I have set up. If he hatches any sinister plot on me, this mother will immediately let him see some colors. Of course Li Moying knew this clearly, that his leer totally hadn't taken any interest in Lang Yifeng, this kind of man. He was absolutely confident of himself. But he himself didn't know why he could be so petty. Upon seeing Lang Yifeng actually daring to get near his leer, even trying to touch her hand, he immediately got so upset that he almost killed Lang Yifeng. He swept a glance at Huang Yueli and, still in an awful tone, you're not interested in him, but he's interested in you. I hate it when other men use that kind of gaze on you. Huang Yueli couldn't help but burst out laughing. Please, even if 100 men take interest in me, it's useless because I only like you. Li Moying had not expected Huang Yueli to suddenly come out with such a frank confession. Those sour words of him immediately were stuffed back as he wasn't able to say a single word of it. Huang Yueli stretched out her finger as she drew circles on his chest. You have the cheek to say me. I'm the one who should be unhappy. Almost all the female disciples in Celestial Light Sect use that kind of mushy gaze to look at you, totally ignoring the existence of me, your fiancé. Especially Murong Fei. She had been chased away by me so many times, but she still keeps plastering herself onto you once and again. I haven't even started to get angry, so what right do you have to show me faces, and... As Huang Yueli spoke, anger overcame her as she pinched him on his chest but realized that Li Moying's pectoral muscles were simply too robust and she totally couldn't pinch anything at all. This made her even more upset as she directly took a bite at Li Moying's neck. SSSSS, Li Moying drew in a mouthful of cold air. Your little fox's teeth are just a little too sharp, you almost bit me until bleeding. I'm really too innocent. When have you seen me bothering about Murong Fei? Although she keeps coming to look for trouble time and again, haven't she always been frightened out of her wits by you? When have I not fully supported you? Huang Yueli gave a humph. Then you've also beaten up Ling Yifeng, so why are you still angry? You can also listen on. When he heard that, Li Moying could only raise both his hands and feet to concede defeat. Alright, I'm at fault. Consider that I've said the wrong thing, alright. Seeing Li Moying's helpless look, Huang Yueli finally smiled as she showed her two sharp little fangs. Her smile was sweet and adorable, with a crafty expression, which looked exactly like a little fox which had just stolen a bite. Li Moying's heart moved as he uncontrollably lowered his head, placing his lips on her lovely pink lips. The next day, the news of Ling Yifeng's went round and Li Moying was called by Murong De again. Huang Yueli wasn't worried about him at all. Her fiancé's ability was right there and no one could do anything about him. Moreover speaking, Ling Yifeng was the one who started to sow the discord first, so he was at fault in the first place. Li Moying had the reason to do so. After that day, Huang Yueli also went into a half-closed-door cultivation state as she started cultivating seriously. Other than the little portion of time where Li Moying had to go out, the rest of the time was basically spent cultivating with her. Towards this, Huang Yueli initially rejected it because she was a fire-attributed practitioner. When she cultivated, the surrounding fire-attributed profound qi would gather and the temperature rose quickly. She didn't feel extremely unbearable, but to the others who were in the same room as her, that would be rather uncomfortable. However, Li Moying was just like a piece of medicated plaster, tightly sticking to her. She was helpless about it, so she could only let him stay by her side as he wished. After that, Huang Yueli realized that it was much more convenient with Li Moying around. His attention was always placed on Huang Yueli. Whenever she met with a bottleneck or encountered any difficulties, he would always help her out in time, greatly increasing the success rate of her cultivation. But even so, Huang Yueli still felt that her cultivation speed wasn't fast enough. 7 days' time is just too short. I haven't even finished stabilizing my core and there are several profound skills which I have not mastered, not to mention advancing to the 5th stage realm. Sigh, if only I had a few more days' time. It was rare for Huang Yueli to feel anxious. Li Moying placed his hands on her face as he said in a mellow voice, "You've already improved very quickly. There's no one like you in the past. I've never heard of anyone whose cultivation speed could chase up to you. Even I have to bow down to your superiority. You don't need to be too hard on yourself. Sometimes forcing yourself too much would end up with a negative result." Huang Yueli pouted, "How would I not know this reason? But isn't this arena tournament very important to Celestial Light Sect? Furthermore, I have a feeling that Green Cloud Sect definitely came well prepared, and will not let us pass this stage so easily." When Li Moying heard that, his expression also turned slightly grave. Actually, he didn't mind who was the ultimate victor in the arena tournament because even if Celestial Light Sect only had 30% of quota to enter the Mystic region, it would not affect him and his leer. But in this way, it would be very bad for Murongda's reputation. Moreover speaking, his leer would be taking part in the tournament that day. If Green Cloud Sect came out with some sinister move, hurting Lear, then he would die of heartache. Otherwise, why not check out the situation on that day? If something's wrong, then don't go up. Anyway, After we enter the Mystic region, you will have plenty of chances at actual combat. Li Moying hadn't finished his words when he was interrupted by Huang Yueli. What do you mean? How will that do? You can also listen on. If I haven't even entered the scene and just gave up upon guessing that there's some difficult situation, this would seriously affect my self-confidence. Since we've already agreed on it, just stop trying to stop me. Relax, I'm not some ignorant young lady who has no actual combat experience. The minute I'm up, no matter what situation, I will be able to protect myself properly. Huang Yueli tugged Li Moying's sleeve as she swayed him gently, trying to placate him. Li Moying's feelings were slightly complicated. Actually, he was merely speaking about it casually only because he understood Huang Yueli extremely well. He knew that although this young lass of his looked helpless and petite, but the bones in her were extremely tough and durable. Fleeing just before a battle was something which wouldn't ever happen to her. She had always braced moving forward, using all sorts of ways to overcome the difficulties. Furthermore, a practitioner's cultivation required this kind of dash to head forward. Otherwise it would be just like what Huang Yueli said, dampening her self-confidence and henceforth affecting her future cultivation. Even though he knew all these, but as Huang Yueli's fiancé, Li Moying still felt worried. The minute he thought of the possibility of his Lier getting hurt, he fretted so much that he kept fidgeting. Huang Yueli saw him putting on a straight face and not responding, so she leaned in closer to him. Moying, what are you worried about exactly? On the day of the arena tournament, you will definitely be watching over me, right? I believe that if there's any real danger, you will be able to protect me. You believe that I can protect you? I myself isn't so sure of that. Li Moying's voice sounded melancholic, seeming with a sigh. Huang Yueli knew that he must have recalled her death in her past life, as she couldn't help but stuck out her tongue, then immediately said, "Hey, I'm telling you, you're not allowed to defame my fiancé. He's extremely powerful and there's nothing that he can't do. I just believe in him." This was simply too touching to hear as a fragrant young lass kept rubbing around his chest, making Li Moying's chest suddenly firing up. He locked his palm on Huang Yueli's waist, slowly tightening and drawing her in as his head also started to lower down. Just at this moment. Ah, right. I thought of it. Huang Yueli suddenly bumped a fist on his chest, as she cried out in joy. Li Moying's face turned green. He was almost about to sneak a kiss on his little fox, but in the end, at the most critical juncture, not only had the cooked duck flown away, he was even inexplicably beaten up. Lear wasn't some weak young lady, and that punch of hers packed some strength in it. Was this considered as domestic violence? Huang Yueli totally didn't notice his expression as she was still happily jumping about in his hands. Right, I was just thinking why I've met with a bottleneck while cultivating. It's because I haven't been following the 9 Phoenix transformations requirements to soak in a medicinal bath. Although I've used the Phoenix's blood to wash my meridians, thereby successfully advancing, but the last time I discovered while in Celestial Light Academy that the medicinal bath cannot be discounted. These medicinal herbs help to replenish the flaws in my physique, otherwise my flame spirit physique is unable to be completely unsealed, so it would affect my cultivation to a certain degree. And, knowing where the problem is now makes it easy to settle. Huang Yueli's eyes turned into full moons as she started computing in her mind, since there's still 3 days before the arena tournament, I can do a medicinal bath. Last time I asked you to help me gather those medicinal herbs, have you managed to find it? Li Moying was still lamenting over missing that kiss and hadn't listened to her question clearly. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli realized that he was distracted and stared at him with an unhappy glare as she leaned close to his ear. Are you listening to me at all? Li Moying then regained his senses as he saw his little fox putting on an angry expression as he hurriedly replied, I heard you, I heard you. Would I dare to not do the things which you instructed me to? I've long gathered the medicinal herbs, and if you need it, I will get my men to go get it for you from the storage area. He had just been distracted for such a short moment and his little fox flew into a rage. This temper of hers was really bad. Evidently, it was all because of his pampering. Li Moying helplessly shook his head. They haven't got married and it already turned out like this. In the future after they got married, he probably wouldn't have any status at home in future. Huang Yueli instantly gave a smile when she heard him say that. Wah, really? You've gathered everything in such a short time. The list which I gave you has several rare medicinal herbs, and 8-tier magical beast cores. Those are worth millions of upper-grade spirit stones and you've managed to look for it so quickly. Li Moying pinched her cheek in adoration. The things you want, I'd definitely think of ways to get it for you, so just rest assured. Huang Yueli cheered and plunged into his hands, automatically leaning in close to him. Li Moying hadn't regained his senses when he discovered that his hands was filled with jade as a smack sound was heard and a soft touch was felt from his lips. He was actually kissed by Huang Yueli. This good fortune made Li Moying's mind blanked out momentarily. By the time he regained his senses, Huang Yueli had already jumped out of his embrace and turned her head towards him while saying, "Then what are you waiting for? Let's go get it from the storage room. There's only 3 days so we must grasp time tightly." Saying that she hadn't even waited for Li Moying to reply when she turned around and ran head first towards the storage room. "Wait a while, what are you her? Sigh, really?" He hadn't even had the time to say anything when Huang Yueli already ran off into the distance away. Li Moying couldn't help but shake his head. Why is she still the same as when she was younger in her past life? So excited that she couldn't hold herself down, she's really a fire-attributed practitioner. His tone sounded as though he was despising her, but his expression had an obvious smile as he stretched out his hand and touched his lips lightly. His little fox's kiss was rather loud. She really wasn't bashful at all. Wasn't it a little too short? So superficial. Did she think that he could be dismissed just like that? Very quickly, Huang Yueli found all the medicinal herbs from the storage room. She directed a few maids to bring a huge bathtub into their room and then laying the medicinal herbs neatly, she added a sufficient amount of water. Little Phoenix was the same as in the past, as she let him out. But this time, Little Phoenix had an unwilling face as it didn't want to coordinate with her. It's not impossible for this young master to light the fire, but you need to use drumsticks to exchange for it. Little Shota worked up his bun like a chubby face as he declared loudly. Heaven knows that ever since Huang Yueli read that guide to raising a phoenix, she had been feeding him with ultra-healthy food. He hadn't seen any kind of roasted or fried drumstick for a very, very long time. Little Phoenix felt that its bird life was pitch dark and there was nothing left for him to linger about. He had finally gotten this chance that Huang Yueli had something to request for him, so he must stand firm to fight for the necessary benefits which he ought to have. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli couldn't help but give him a stare. Why do you only think about drumsticks? You're already so fat and you still don't start dieting. Senior Huang already says you're suffering from dysplasia. Can you show some spiritual beast's pride? Little Phoenix grumbled while murmuring. Huang Yueli hadn't heard him clearly initially, so when she leaned in closer to it, she heard him mumbling. Pride might be valuable, but the value of drumsticks is even higher. Huang Yueli didn't know if she should laugh or cry. All right, sister here is doing this for your own good. Don't you want to turn into a powerful and gorgeous big phoenix like your brother? What happens if you can't even fly if you really turn into a fat phoenix? She urged. All right, quickly light up the fire for me. Little Phoenix heard what she said and rather die than to raise its little head. No way, this little master had already said this earlier. No drumsticks, I will not light up any fire for you. I have my own principles and stand, so I will not compromise on it. Its little bun face was filled with a solemn expression as it looked extremely serious about this. Huang Yule couldn't help but frown. This little brat really wasn't obedient at all. Now it's even climbing on top of her head. All right, you may eat one, she thought for a moment and decided to relent a little. But before her words were finished, a cough was heard by the side, and following that, a man's cold and deep voice was heard. Why hasn't the fire been lit up? Hearing that voice, little Phoenix immediately shivered as it jumped up. Li. When it saw Li Moying, its little face turned palely white, and that flustered look, in Huang Yueli's eyes, was extremely comedic. Little Wang Kai had a lot of guts that sometimes even her, its master, wasn't able to control it totally. But every single time it saw Li Moying, it turned into a real shocked bird, as he could scare that entire bird into a daze. This was considered as one thing curbing another. Li Moying's cold piercing black eyes calmly swept past little Phoenix. You greeted me wrongly. I'm your brother-in-law. Little Wang Kai immediately stood up properly like a little yes man, brother-in-law. Huang Yule went blue for a moment because she herself could only pretend to be young, saying she was little Wang Kai's sister. Li Moying actually claimed that he was its brother-in-law. This man's skin was extremely thick. Li Moying didn't continue a single word, only sweeping his gaze towards the bottom of the bathtub. Little Wang Kai acted extremely obediently in front of him, as it immediately figured out what he had in mind and hurriedly sucked in a mouthful of breath and blowing it out ferociously. A mouthful of scorching phoenix true flame fire came surging out. Intense flames arose, and as little Phoenix had advanced, the fire this time was much hotter and brighter than previous times. Huang Yule saw little Phoenix standing obediently beside Li Moying as she couldn't help but shook her head secretly. Whom had this little fellow learnt from, to know how to bully the weak and feared the strong? Could it be that Phoenixes all had this kind of character? She walked to the bathtub and her right hand pressed against her own collar as she was just preparing to strip off her clothes to jump in. Suddenly her action stopped as her mind suddenly thought of something and hurriedly turned over. Right behind her, Li Moying's hands were crossed as he leaned against the wall with a leisure and at ease expression. That pair of black eyes with no end was firmly planted onto her. Huang Yueli's mouth twitched as she stared at him fiercely. You. What are you looking at? Why haven't you scrammed? Two shades of red instantly flushed on her face. You can also listen on. This man was simply too sinister. When on earth had he entered the room? Just as she was prepared to enter the bath, she had already locked the room before releasing little Wang Kai out. In the end he suddenly appeared and helped her settle little Phoenix. Before this, she totally hadn't noticed that Li Moying was right inside her room. This man had suspiciously appeared here. He absolutely wasn't up to any good. Whereas she was still so silly to have not realized that, almost stripping all her clothes in front of him. The more Huang Yule thought, the more stuffed she felt as she shot him a dissatisfied look while retorting angrily, "Get out now." Li Moying immediately put on a grieved expression. You. How could you be like this, tearing the bridge apart after you've crossed it? Earlier when you used me, why didn't you ask me to get out? Huang Yule was so angry that she stomped her feet. You still dare to argue irrationally? Have I asked you to come in or not? Li Moying appeared even more aggrieved. I just heard you and little Wang Kai arguing, so I came in to help you. You really don't appreciate a good person's heart. And you actually act so fiercely towards me. Aren't you a little too violent towards your fiancé? Violent? Huang Yueli's eyes turned wide, looking at him in disbelief as she really imagined that this man's shamelessness had once again broken a new record to even be able to turn black into white. Furthermore, what's more nonsensical about this was when she saw him frowning slightly with the clear and gloomy eyes. Even though she knew he was pretending, she actually felt a slight heartache for him. Really seen a living ghost? Huang Yueli pushed his chest hard. All right, now that you've already helped, I don't need you already, so you can retire yourself now. She used a warning expression while looking at this man. Li Moying saw that she was going to fly into a rage and knew that he couldn't continue to tease her, so he could only rub his nose as he awkwardly turned around to leave the room. What a pity. Seeing that this young lass was in a daze today, he thought he would be able to see a beauty getting out of a shower. Huang Yueli shut the door tight as she placed her ear on the door, listening for quite a while to ascertain that there weren't any movements outside before returning to the bathtub, then removing her clothes and jumping right in. The medicinal bath was boiling hot as usual. Furthermore, as Little Phoenix advanced, the flame became even more intense. Huang already felt her skin being burned off a layer soon after she just stepped into the medicinal bath. SSSS, she drew in a mouthful of cold air. This feeling was just too painful, and if it was any other ordinary practitioner, they would probably not even be able to stay for one breath's time while screaming to get out. However, Huang Yueli knew clearly that the more painful it was, the more she was able to sharpen herself and the greater possibility that she could raise her own ability. Only those who could face the problem directly were able to stand out, becoming one of the real strong top exponents. She hurriedly held her breath as she congealed her senses, trying to bear with the pain as she moaned, forcing herself to quieten down her heart while working on the cultivation incantation recorded accordingly in 9 Phoenix transformations, operating the cultivation method. Fiery red liquid slowly seeped into her skin as it gradually took effect. After the profound energy in her body went round her meridians for 3 to 4 cycles, the fire-attributed energy merged with her and she gradually became more and more relaxed. Later on, she totally couldn't feel the scorching heat from the medicine bath. She felt as though she was lying in a warm current as her entire body completely extended out while fire-attributed energy continuously surged into her body. You can also listen on. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.